Yes, Frida.
Hi, Wayne. How are you? I met you at the retreat in New York recently with my husband.
Yes, yes.
Um, so what really stuck with me that keeps going on in my head is the should and shouldn't. Um, and I struggle with this because I kind of expectation or idea of how we should be. And then we kind of catch ourselves and think, okay, well, we should just accept each other just as we are. But then we go back into the cycle of, oh, you this or you should be doing that. And it's like never ending. And it makes me really angry because I think that, okay, he should accept me as I am, but then I'm not accepting him as he is. So it's like this never ending cycle. And yeah, I've been struggling a lot with that.
Okay. Well, it can get pretty confusing and mixed up because when we talk about acceptance, uh, it's a very specific thing. It's the acceptance of what is, which is total, and it includes your liking and not liking things. So, as a human being and a human being in relationship with another human being, there are going to be things that you like about the other person and things that you don't like. There are the other person is going to do things that you like or don't like, or they are not going to do things that you would like them to do, all of which can get very confusing because the desire you have to have things a certain way is quite natural.
Mhm.
But in this teaching, we're pointing more subtly and hope that you get clarity on the fact that what you are expressing when you say you should do this is, I want you to do this, which is different from you should. When we say you should do this, we're holding it up to a standard we believe to be universal. Say, of course you should, because it's the right thing to do. It's the only reasonable, rational, right thing to do. But when you get underneath that, that's not true. What it is your desire to have it a certain way. And when you get it the way you want it, you're happy for a minute. And when you don't get it the way you want it, you're unhappy. That's like the facts of life. That's how it works. So it's unlikely that you will go through your day not caring about anything. You don't care what the other person does, even though it may impact you, or the fact that they're not doing something that impacts you. And to say, I don't care, that's unlikely to happen. I mean, in certain things, you don't care. I mean,
Mhm.
you genuinely do not care. And in the absence of that caring, there's basically no problem. But when you do care, when you do have a desire, when you do have a personal stake in things, then there's going to be pleasure and pain. And life is pleasure and pain. What we are concerned with is when the pain that gets converted to suffering.
Yeah.
And the suffering is this quality of should, which is that It isn't me that is saying that I want it a certain way. It's the universe. The universe is saying it should be this way. It's only right.
Mhm.
And that's where the suffering begins. Because the moment that happens, then the suffering happens.
Right. So if I express my wants, like I want you to, speak to me in a kinder way,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't happen, that's so that's I think that everyone should be kind. Yeah, that's like the universal thing that especially my partner.
Yeah.
So I need to kind of just think about it like I want him to be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get what you want, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, and when I don't, that's when I get really like it's crazy how I can go from so much love to just like these really nasty feelings towards him. And
Sure.
yeah.
Sounds,
So
sounds like a relationship to me.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I should just accept those feelings too, because it's
No,
just what's you know.
you shouldn't do anything.
Oh,
We will
yeah.
see what happens. You may desire to accept those feelings because when that acceptance is there, you're not suffering. So you may well want or desire not to have those things.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Wayne. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome, Frida. Did you make it to Boulder?
Almost. We'll be there in
Almost.
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Albert.
Hi, Wayne.
Hello.
So thank you for your time and for your presence. So yeah, I have a question. I happened to see old satsangs of Ramesh where you were next to him, and he was talking about will of God. And I wanted to ask, like, your understanding of the will of God, because it really helped me. I come from Sufi tradition, and they worship Allah, and that really helped me in my early spiritual uh, path to accept everything as is, as a will of God. And
Mhm.
when I returned back, then I went to meditation, and then I and then when I've heard this will of God thing, it helped me to surrender very easily and effortlessly.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but the only concern I have that Advaita means non-duality.
Yes.
So if there is will of God, there is me and the will of God. It creates kind of separation between me and God.
Yes.
Or I should accept myself as God because I have Satori when I realize that the God is actually me. I mean, but it was different from how I perceive myself in the body mind. It was different. I. And so what's your take on that, on the will of God? Because I feel like it creates separation.
It it certainly can, but it need not
Hmm.
create separation. I mean, we are separate. You and I are separate. You are where you are. I am here. We are separate in that we have to be separate in order to connect, in order to have a conversation, in order to uh, have a relationship. There has to be two. So this is where the teaching gets subtler and subtler. Because at first you say, okay, everything is one. And this two business is just an illusion. And I have to get rid of this two thing, me and you and me and the other and me and God and all. I got to get rid of all of that in order to realize it's all one. To live permanently in that experience of oneness that you had in your Satori experience. That's the image one has. But nobody lives that way.
Yeah.
That is an experience that comes and goes. It is dependent upon separation in order for that experience of unity to be there. It's the very structure of the thing, if you look into it deeply. So when this Advaita, this not two, is an imperfect and very subtle kind of pointer to the inherent unity in the multiplicity. In the many is the one. In the one is the many. They are not they are not two.
Okay.
So this is, and when Ramesh talks about, uses the term God's will, he is using language to point to the fact that there is no independent author. There is no thing separate making things happen. That it is all the source, which is everything. God, which is everything. It's all God's will. So it's just another way of saying the same thing. And what you said was that when you heard it, it was useful for you. It made you feel a certain way. And that's why teachers have all of these different kinds of pointers, because one will be effective in the moment.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Serena.
Yeah, hi Wayne and everyone. I have a question. Do you distinguish in this teaching between powerlessness and helplessness?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Because I know your book is about powerlessness, but yeah, what's the difference for you?
Well, helplessness is the feeling that I theoretically can do something, but
Get help.
I'm going to require, well, no, that I theoretically can do something, but I lack the immediate power to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the sense, but it is, I lack the ability in this moment to generate that power. So it still is, it is grounded, helplessness is grounded in the belief that some of the time I can make things happen from my own power. But in this moment, I can't. And so I feel helpless. The world is conspiring against me is the sense of helplessness. There, powerlessness is a recognition, as I use the term in this teaching. Powerless is a recognition of how things are. That we are, by our very nature, inherently powerless because we have no inherent independent nature. In order to create something, we must be independent of everything for it to be our independent creation. And so that power to do that is absent because the underlying independence is absent. So that's what the term powerlessness is pointing to.
Yeah.
Did that sink in?
I think so. When you were talking, I thought it's like that recognition will bring a relief instead of like, because for me, powerlessness sometimes feels like a collapse. But yeah, there is like a sense that like right now I'm powerless because you know, I don't have the energy. Yeah, I don't know. I just lost the thought.
Yeah, but you see, in helplessness, the key thing to helplessness is the possibility of my being able to control things, of my being able to make things happen. But in this moment, I can't. Sometimes I can, but in this moment I can't, and so I feel helpless.
Yeah.
And implicit in that helplessness is the feeling that I should be able to do something to make this all work, but I can't. I should, but I can't. That's helplessness.
Yeah, and that's unpleasant feeling because there's like the
It's horrible.
pressure
It's
to
suffering.
do it and inability to do it. So it's like suffering, yeah. Yeah. So when I just tried to feel it in my body also. So it's not conceptual, but more like have an experience of, so I feel this helplessness where there's like pressure of life, right? And I just can't do it because I don't know, I have 3 kids. So, you know, it's a lot. I just can't do it sometimes. But with powerlessness, it seems like it's just like it's not, yeah, it doesn't feel the same way in the body. It just like feels like surrender.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I
Maybe,
just can't do it. Like I
maybe
can't.
if you had 8 kids, you would finally surrender to the fact that you can't like make it all happen.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
you
it's
still
easier.
would.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, there's so many more surrenders this time around.
Three has the potential of being able to control this.
Just
You
a
know,
little, yeah, there's much less than with one. With one, it's like, I can't do it all. With 2, you already start to have glimpses, and with 3, it's, you know. But yeah, I think the every kid increases your ability to surrender for sure. But I don't want to, I'm done. No more kids.
Okay. It was just an option.
But I need to find another way.
Okay.
What's it? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Well, it feels like a relief when there's no expectation, or should.
Of course. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, may it find me now.
Indeed. Yes, Serena.
Okay, I have another question. You know, from my point of view, my life is significant to me, right? Like from this body mind. But from totality point of view, my life is like insignificant. Like I'm one of, or is it like somehow this question came up, like how do you reconcile the two?
No, your existence is essential.
Okay, yeah.
Significant, insignificant, it is on a sliding scale. Essential, essential is something else entirely. You are essential to this manifest universe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll stay with that. That's a good point.
Wait, there's a question in the chat in Russian.
Yes.
So from the point of view of Advaita, what are the clear pointers of reality? Meaning, how is reality different from false yeah, well, from a false way of seeing it?
Well, the crucial thing is that there is no Advaitic way of looking at things. So, at least from this living teaching of Advaita, there are no truths about what reality is. And there is no discussion of how this reality is different from the illusion. Just it's not there. This living teaching of Advaita, which is here, is simply a collection of pointers that are pointing you to look at what is real. And perhaps there is in this looking a recognition of the underlying reality to everything. But the living teaching of Advaita holds no positions, has no definitions of what is reality or true or God or source. Those words are simply used to encourage you to look.
Wait, there's another question. So in this case, what is the object of the search?
There is literally no object to the search. The search happens. And within your personal search, various objectives may arise. But in this living teaching of Advaita, there is no object to be obtained. Yes, Frida.
So I've been thinking a lot about being the seeker and this identity as a seeker, but trying to like think, I don't know if it makes sense, like how to be a seeker without identifying as a seeker, because when I do, I feel like, okay, I have to attend all these satsangs, I have to meet masters in person, I have to do all this work, and it seems like a lot of pressure than I put on myself. So then I thought like, okay, maybe I need to not see myself as a seeker, but I don't know. What is your take on this?
I don't really have a take on that, Frida. We'll see what happens.
But when you were a seeker
Yes.
and you were with Ramesh in person,
Uh-huh.
so I guess it's different because you're, with a master in person. So for me, not being with someone in person, I feel like I'm always trying to see the master in all these other ways. Um, and then I create this identity around that because I'm trying um, to be like a good disciple or a good seeker. So when you
Right.
were in person with your master, how did you see yourself when you were there with Ramesh? Like, because I know I saw you a lot of times like sitting next to him. Um, like, did you identify as a seeker or how did you see yourself?
Well, at different times, I had different self images, certainly, and but we don't create those, Frida.
Mhm.
They arise.
Mhm.
So it isn't that you have created this identity as a seeker. The
Mhm.
the identity as a seeker has arisen within you. Big difference. You're not responsible for them. And so it may stay for a while, it may go, but and it will likely change.
Mhm.
One's identity changes really moment to moment.
Yeah. Mm.
And yes, sometimes we like our identities more one time than than another, or our evaluation of ourselves, our feeling about ourselves changes as well. And so sometimes it's more complimentary, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes uh, we're tired of doing a particular thing, and yet we keep doing it anyway. I mean, all of that happens. So this teaching is simply pointing to the fact that this is what's happening, Frida,
Mhm.
and you're not the one making it happen.
Oh, yeah. And is that like the ego that just can't wrap its head around that? Because I keep going back to
Basically,
like,
what we call the ego, or the false sense of authorship, or the
yeah.
sense of being an independent entity, whatever you want to call it, is what is saying, I should be this way.
Mhm.
I I have to change this in order for that to happen, and it's within my power to do that. That's the voice of that ego or false sense of authorship. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the teaching is so simple, but I can never like it always comes back to the same thing.
It does always come back to the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wayne, there is another question in the chat, which continues the previous ones. So then it turns out that there is no right search, no right way of searching, no right object, no right way. So we just look and that's it.
Yes.
Uh,
Now, we will, if we look and we attain the object of our looking, then we say it was successful. And if we don't obtain the object of our looking, then we say, I'm a failure. So as we started this discussion, in this living teaching, there is no object of the seeking. So there is no success or failure in regard to that. But the seeking is happening. You are here because there is an impulse, a movement of energy within you that draws you here. I assure you, most of the people on the planet could not be paid to be here. That's love.
Я вот сейчас задавал вопрос в чате и пронаблюдал за собой, как у меня прямо в процессе
I was
всплывает
the
очень
one
такой какой-то страх показаться глупым.
I was the one asking the question in the chat recently, and when I was writing it, I noticed my own reaction that I was very much afraid, like to seem stupid.
Каким-то как будто быть, а каким-то не быть.
And it's like I noticed that I want to be perceived as like this way and not like this way.
Такой вопрос, а как, я не знаю,
Me
So,
too.
uh,
ну, как, я не знаю, как сформулировать. То есть я понимаю, что окей, это тоже как бы возникает, вот это желание, этот
I
страх.
understand that this desire also
Ну, выйти из этого.
arises, and this fear of being perceived not the way you want to be perceived out of this also arises. But my question is like how to get out of that.
I don't know. Seems a fairly human condition.
Очень нравится, как вы так разрешающе это делаете. Типа, окей.
I love the way that you treat this whole question, like how lightly you treat it, like you're giving us permission to be this way.
You are this way. We are this way. That's the teaching is pointing you to look and see what is happening and how you are. And perhaps to recognize that you did not make yourself this way. I did not make myself this way. Maria did not make herself the way she is. We are all as we are.
Ужасные новости.
Terrible news. This is terrible news.
Well, depends on the day.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Пожалуйста. Yes, because
Здравствуйте, рад снова видеть вас, приветствовать.
Hello, I'm very happy to see you again.
Как обычно, ощущения очень приятные. Быть что-то похожее, как я помню, в детстве меня мама
As usual, it's very pleasant to be here. It's like when I was a kid, my parents used to bring me to my grandparents' house,
но с вами иначе.
and I had
Интересно иначе.
a similar feeling, like
Хотел заметить, перед тем, как
a bit like here now. And also, I wanted to say that, like, the previous person was saying a sort of like that he wasn't very comfortable speaking. When I saw you, I was very happy, and then I started thinking of what to ask, and then I started having similar thoughts. Also, I started sort of like feeling uncomfortable, although I usually don't have such problems. And when you two discussed it, talked about it, I felt how I also was relaxing and feeling better. And just I wanted to say that. And I just wanted to share that.
Марию. О, вот так слышу, слава тебе Богу. Да. А можете повторить предыдущий ответ вкратце, сам смысл интересно? Тому человеку ответ и сейчас мне, если есть ответ. Да, не то, что лучше, а вот это ощущение внутри, оно и подобные, да, они так, как бы, ну, перестало это быть. Все, у меня
Yeah.
такого нету. Я сам по себе могу смело перед огромной аудиторией выступить и
And this was interesting for me to note because I don't usually get uncomfortable. I can speak freely before a big audience. So it turns out that right now I sort of felt empathy to this person, right? Because I was feeling what he was feeling, and then he relaxed, and I relaxed as well.
как всегда, выразить благодарность за эти ощущения.
And
Я очень люблю коннектить.
yeah, I just like to thank you.
Просто вот.
I love speaking to you and thank you.
Good job. Yes, Stanislav.
Спасибо за то, что вы сказали до этого. И, ну, у меня это даже не вопрос, я не знаю, что это. В общем, просто то, что рождается дальше.
This isn't really a question. It's just something that's coming to me. I realized that all my life I've been trying to change not something external, but trying to change myself, like stop being the way I am. And I'm always getting upset that I can't do it because it's like I don't have enough power to do it. So I'm also always like frustrated that I'm trying to become like something else, and I can't do it. I'm always frustrated that I don't have enough power to do it.
Благодарю. Спасибо.